Hey everybody, Steph Mishuk with KillerSites.com. In this video, I want to talk about social networks as a business. So we're looking at things like Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and others. So I'll get to the point. I do not believe that social networks are viable businesses in reality. I think that things like Facebook and Zynga can only exist in a Ponzi economic situation, and that's what we're in now, but this is collapsing. So let's take a look at this. We'll look at the Facebook stock. So we've seen that just in the last day of trading on the markets, it's already down 11%. So let's look at, since it's gone public, it's lost 37%, it's indicated right here, 37% of its value since May. I guess that's when it went public. So if you invested at its opening, you've lost 37% of your money. And the reason that the stock is losing its money is because it's not making any money. It's actually, since they've gone public, Facebook has lost, I think, around $157 million. And it's only going to get worse because of the nature of social networks, especially things like Facebook. I'm going to get into that in a second. Before I get into that, the question you're going to ask yourself now is, what does this have to do with being a web designer, web programmer? It has to do with where you want to invest your time and efforts. I believe social networking is something that can only exist within the context of a viable business. So for instance, Google+, which I believe, by the way, is a far better piece of software than Facebook. I think things like Google+, any social network, can exist within a profitable business, and the profitable business can use the social network as a way to keep an audience, to engage an audience, etc., etc. But as a standalone business, I really doubt it's going to survive. So people might be questioning that, say, well, how could you say that? Look at Facebook, look at Zynga. Yeah, well, look at Zynga's stock, right? You've lost 67% of your money since investing if you bought it at the initial public offering when they first went public. Again, the fad that is the social network and social gaming is already starting to wear off. And there's many other examples of social networks failing miserably. Facebook hasn't gone there yet, but MySpace was by far the dominant player. Who goes to MySpace now? How about Friendster, right? Who goes there now? Another very, very popular social network is Twitter. And I happen to like Twitter, but in terms of a business, something that you can monetize, make money with, I don't think they'll be able to do it. I think eventually, if they're lucky, they'll sell themselves to a large player like a Microsoft or something. And if I was a Microsoft or a Google, I would want to acquire a Twitter much more than I would a Facebook, simply because Twitter is a much more precise, to the point type of social network, whereas Facebook has really become very cluttered these days, as all social networks typically do. They become cluttered, become useless, and people just stop engaging them. In fact, that's the statistic. Apparently, for the first time, Facebook U.S. usage from the United States has dropped 5%. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's the case. So that gives you an idea of what the trend is, and that's why these stock values are dropping like crazy, because the investors are starting to pick up on the fact that these are fads. These are not viable businesses. I see the social networking fad that we're in now. It reminds me of the dot-com bubble fad that we had in the late 1990s. Very similar. You had very hyped up web-based companies that didn't speak about how much money they were earning. They spoke about how much traffic they got, how many hits you get. Well, now Facebook talks about, how many users they have and how many times they come to the site. They don't like to talk about too much about how much profit they're making. Why? Because they don't make any profit. It's kind of the opposite of traditional business. I'm a second generation entrepreneur. And whenever my family or people I knew went into business, they didn't go into business thinking, oh, I'm going to start this business and then we'll figure out how to make money. That's what you see with these social networks. What we did was try to, when we saw an opportunity to make money, then we would create a business around that opportunity. That's the whole point of business in the first place, is to generate revenue. The final point I want to make about social networks is the nature of the traffic, and the nature of the traffic is not easily monetizable. So what does that mean? And that means that it's hard to make money off of social network traffic. And that's what people are finding out when they advertise on Facebook and so on. They find that the users are not very responsive to ads. And that is no surprise to me, because really all Facebook is just a giant forum, right? Forums have been around forever. And that's all Facebook is. And forums are notoriously bad for conversions. Just out of curiosity, which related to this subject, I popped open the archive of the original Killer Sites forum. Now, this thing has been offline for years, but it still gets within half an hour period, hundreds of viewers. Now, at its peak, every half an hour on average, we could get 800, 1,000 people visiting the site, checking out things. And for a few years, I tried to monetize this. I would put up banner ads and sales, try to sell some of my video products, etc., etc., etc. And it was terrible. The conversion rates were so low. It was like a fraction of what they were on the main websites. So as a result of that, I stopped putting any ads. You see it's ad-free. Well, this is the old forum. If you go to the new forum, you're going to see the new forum. It's just a standard forum, nothing to get excited about. The quality of the forum comes down to the quality of the information. That's it. So as you can see here, it's very simple, and you see any ads? No ads. Why? Because ads don't make any money on forums. And social networks are basically giant forums. So if you're looking at creating a social network, I would suggest, and I could be wrong, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would suggest that you consider the social network as an add-on to another business that is actually viable. Use it as a loss leader, as a way to attract traffic and maybe engage your audience a little bit. But as a business where you're going to set it up and then you're going to make money selling ads, good luck. You're going to have to compete with every website on the web that sells ad space. You're going to have to compete with the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Google Pluses. And to be able to compete against these big boys is going to be very difficult. And more importantly, you're going to have so much ad space out there, so much ad space, that the amount of money people are going to be willing to pay for ads on a website are going to be far, far less in a few years from now than they are today. That's almost guaranteed. Why? It's supply and demand. You got more websites with more ad space. You're going to be getting a lot less money for your ad space. So, so instead of building a website to sell ad space, perhaps you could build a website to sell services or to sell products or something. Anyway, that's it.